Are you kidding me right now? BRON Breakker just spent weeks sitting at home, banned from WWE television, paying for his actions, serving his punishment like a professional. And what does he do the second his suspension is lifted? He walks straight into Monday Night Raw and demolishes Centimeter Punk in the most vicious attack we've seen in months. This wasn't a wrestling match. This wasn't a storyline beatdown. This was a statement. This was BRON Breakker telling the entire WWE locker room that he doesn't care about consequences, he doesn't care about authority, and he definitely doesn't care about Centimeter Punk's legendary status. Let me paint the picture for you, because if you missed this, you missed absolute chaos. Centimeter Punk was in the middle of a promo, doing what he does best, talking about the Royal Rumble, talking about his road to WrestleMania, connecting with the Chicago crowd who absolutely worship him. The place was electric. Punk had the microphone, he had the moment, and everything seemed normal. Then BRON Breakker's music hit. The crowd erupted. Not cheers, not boos, just pure shock and confusion because nobody expected this. Breakker's ban wasn't supposed to be lifted until next week according to most reports. But there he was, walking down that ramp with a look in his eyes that screamed violence. And Centimeter Punk? Punk just stood there in the ring, microphone in hand, with that trademark smirk on his face like he wasn't intimidated at all. Big mistake. BRON Breakker slid into that ring like a man possessed, and before Punk could even drop the microphone, Breakker hit him with the most devastating spear I have ever seen in my entire life. I'm talking about the kind of spear that makes Goldberg's look gentle, the kind of spear that makes Edge's spear look like a hug. Centimeter Punk's body folded in half. The sound echoed through the arena, and Breakker wasn't done. Quick question for the comments: have you ever seen a more brutal spear than what BRON Breakker just did to Centimeter Punk? Let me know below. What happened next was pure carnage. Breakker picked Punk up and hit him with a military press power slam that shook the entire ring. Then another spear. Then he threw Punk out of the ring like he was a training dummy and proceeded to launch him into the barricade, into the steel steps, into the announce table. Security tried to intervene. Breakker threw them off like they were children. It took what looked like 15 people, including multiple referees and backstage agents, to finally pull BRON Breakker away from Centimeter Punk. And you want to know the craziest part? Breakker was laughing while they were dragging him away, while Centimeter Punk was lying in a heap at ringside being attended to by medical staff. BRON Breakker had this psychotic smile on his face like he had just accomplished exactly what he set out to do. Now let's talk about why this happened, because context is everything. BRON Breakker was banned from WWE television 4 weeks ago after he attacked a referee during a match with Centimeter Punk. The two of them have been feuding 4 months now, ever since Punk made some comments about the new generation of wrestlers not respecting the business, not paying their dues, and basically being handed everything on a silver platter. BRON Breakker took that personally, and honestly, can you blame him? Here's a guy who's second-generation royalty, the son of Rick Steiner, nephew of Scott Steiner, who's worked his entire life to get to WWE. He dominated NXT, became a multiple-time NXT champion, and finally got his call up to the main roster. And what does Centimeter Punk do? Basically calls him and everyone from his generation soft and undeserving. So Breakker challenged Punk to a match. They had an absolute war on Raw that ended in controversy when Breakker, frustrated with the referee's count, shoved the official to the ground. That led to an immediate disqualification, a fine, and a 4-week suspension. WWE made an example out of him. Triple H went on record saying that kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated regardless of how talented someone is. And BRON Breakker accepted his punishment. He didn't complain on social media. He didn't do interviews crying about how unfair it was. He took his suspension, stayed quiet, and clearly spent those 4 weeks planning exactly what he was going to do the moment he was allowed back. Question for you: was BRON Breakker justified in attacking Centimeter Punk, or did he cross the line? Drop your thoughts below. But here's where things get really interesting. There are reports coming out right now, and I mean right now, that BRON Breakker's suspension was actually lifted early. According to multiple backstage sources, Triple H called Breakker into his office earlier today and told him his ban was over, that he could return to Raw tonight, but that he needed to conduct himself professionally. Professional? Professional? Did Triple H watch the same attack we all just witnessed? Because there was nothing professional about what BRON Breakker just did to Centimeter Punk. This was premeditated. This was calculated. This was Breakker sending a message not just to Punk, but to Triple H, to the entire WWE universe, that he does things on his own terms. And you know what? Part of me respects it. I'm not saying what he did was right. I'm not saying attacking someone during their promo is the way to handle business. But in a world where everything in WWE is scripted, where everything is planned out weeks in advance, there's something refreshing about a wrestler who just doesn't give a damn about the politics and does what he feels needs to be done. Centimeter Punk has been untouchable since he returned to WWE. He's been treated like royalty, getting main event spots, getting premium matches, getting all the microphone time he wants to talk about whatever he wants. And nobody has really challenged him on it. Sure, people have feuded with him, but nobody has truly made Punk look vulnerable the way BRON Breakker just did. Think about it. When was the last time you saw Centimeter Punk get absolutely destroyed like that? When was the last time Punk was the one being carried out on a stretcher instead of standing tall at the end of the show? BRON Breakker just did what dozens of other wrestlers have failed to do. He made Centimeter Punk look human. Let me ask you this, do you think Centimeter Punk is going to be cleared to compete at the Royal Rumble after that attack? Comment your predictions. Now let's talk about what this means for the Royal Rumble, because we're less than 2 weeks away from one of the biggest events of the year. Centimeter Punk has been rumored to be one of the favorites to win the Rumble match and go on to main event WrestleMania. But after what we just witnessed, I don't know if Punk is even going to be medically cleared to compete. The attack was that brutal. We're talking about a man who's already had multiple injuries throughout his career, who's had surgeries, who's older than most of the roster. And BRON Breakker just put him through absolute hell. The medical staff was checking on Punk for a solid 10 minutes after the attack. They were doing concussion protocols, checking his ribs, examining his back. This wasn't just for show. Centimeter Punk might legitimately be injured. And if Punk can't compete at the Royal Rumble, that changes everything. The entire WrestleMania season could be completely different. Plans would have to be rewritten. Dream matches would have to be postponed. And all because BRON Breakker decided that his vendetta against Centimeter Punk was more important than playing by the rules. But here's the million-dollar question, was this sanctioned by WWE? Did Triple H and Creative want BRON Breakker to attack Centimeter Punk tonight, or did Breakker go into business for himself? Because if this was planned, if this was part of the storyline, then it's absolutely brilliant. But if Breakker actually went rogue and attacked Punk without permission, we could be looking at another suspension, possibly even a firing. The wrestling world is going crazy right now trying to figure out what's real and what's scripted. Social media is blowing up with theories. Some people think this is the start of the hottest feud WWE has had in years. Other people think BRON Breakker just committed career suicide by attacking one of the most beloved and influential wrestlers in the history of the business. Question: do you think this attack was planned by WWE, or did BRON Breakker go rogue? Let me know what you think. Let's also talk about the implications for BRON Breakker's career. This is a guy who's only been on the main roster for about a year. He's incredibly talented, he's got the look, he's got the genetics, he's got everything you need to be a top star in WWE. But he's also shown time and time again that he has a temper, that he doesn't always think things through, that he's willing to risk everything for the sake of making an impact. That kind of mentality can either make you a legend or end your career before it really begins. Look at wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who built his entire career on being anti-authority and doing whatever he wanted. But also look at wrestlers who flamed out because they couldn't control their emotions, who burned bridges, who got themselves blacklisted from the industry. Which path is BRON Breakker going down? Is he the next big rebel who's going to revolutionize WWE, or is he a ticking time bomb who's going to self-destruct? Based on what we just saw tonight, it could go either way. And let's not forget about Centimeter Punk's response, because you know Punk isn't going to let this slide. This is a man who holds grudges like nobody else in the wrestling business. This is a man who walked away from WWE for 7 years because he felt disrespected. This is a man who will go to war over the smallest slight, let alone a vicious attack that could have ended his career. When Centimeter Punk gets cleared, when he's able to stand in that ring again, his response to BRON Breakker is going to be nuclear. We're talking about promos that will be talked about for years. We're talking about a feud that could potentially headline WrestleMania if WWE plays their cards right. This isn't just another wrestling rivalry, this is personal, this is real heat, and that's when wrestling is at its absolute best. The beauty of what just happened is that it feels real. In an era where everything is so heavily produced, where every moment is calculated and choreographed, BRON Breakker attacking Centimeter Punk the second his ban was lifted felt spontaneous, dangerous, and unpredictable. That's the kind of wrestling that makes people tune in every single week. Final question: if this leads to a WrestleMania match between Centimeter Punk and BRON Breakker, what stipulation would you want to see? No DQ, Hell in a Cell, I Quit match? Tell me in the comments. Look, whether you're a Centimeter Punk fan or a BRON Breakker fan, you cannot deny that what we just witnessed was television gold. This is the kind of moment that gets replayed on highlight reels for decades. This is the kind of attack that becomes legendary, and depending on how WWE follows up on this, it could be the beginning of something truly special. The wrestling world is buzzing right now. Twitter is exploding. YouTube is going to be flooded with reaction videos, and everyone is asking the same questions. Is Centimeter Punk okay? Will he be cleared for the Royal Rumble? What's going to happen to BRON Breakker? And most importantly, where does this feud go from here? We're living through a potentially historic moment in WWE history, folks. BRON Breakker just announced himself as a legitimate main event player in the most violent way possible. Centimeter Punk just got humbled in front of millions of people, and the road to WrestleMania just got a whole lot more interesting. So there you have it, Wrestling Zone fam. BRON Breakker's ban was lifted, and within minutes he attacked Centimeter Punk in one of the most vicious assaults we've seen in modern WWE. This is going to have massive ramifications for the Royal Rumble, for WrestleMania, and for both of these men's careers. Let me know in the comments which side you're on. Are you Team Punk or Team Breakker? Do you think this attack was justified? And what do you want to see happen next? Smash that like button, subscribe to Wrestling Zone for more breaking news and analysis, and I'll see you in the next one. This is about to get wild.